welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on Television Network. It's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 to 9, where we bring you something relevant in sports. And on tonight's show, we're going to be talking football, and we have on as my guest the head coach of the Trinidad and Tobago national team, Stephen Hart. Mr. Hart, good afternoon and welcome to Scoreboard.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we had a very successful 2015 season with the national team, doing fairly well. We would like to reflect a bit on 2015, what was the high points and the low points, as we look forward now to the qualifying rounds of the next World Cup in 2016 here. But let's talk a bit about 2015. What was 2015 like for you, and what are some of the challenges that you face and overcome?
Well, I think to answer the second part of that question first, the challenges continue to be programming. It's proven very difficult for us to have the programming necessary to be consistent with the program, to build the program. And of course, it's no secret that that is due to financial constraints on many fronts. So with that in mind, you have to design the program in such a way that really and truly, in many instances, you are hoping things go well rather than working towards things being thoroughly prepared for when you go into the games. But that being said, but when that happens, you have to take what you get. So, for example, we had to go to Jordan, and it was more than 16 hours of flying. You get there and you play a game, and we did not have a good game. But I think there was a huge overreaction because, of course, the Trinidad and Tobago public doesn't care about the problems. They only care about the final results. And you also have to be cautious, because in an exhibition game, the result really does not matter. Of course, you play for the result, but there are things that you may be working on that will give you a result. They will give you a result within the squad, but may not be a result with the...
And I think that is something that football supporters don't really understand. That is why they expect you in a exhibition game. They want you to win. They want certain things, but they doesn't know that it is something that the coach is looking for or something to implement.
Yeah, I mean, football really have no truth in it. Okay, you can play well and lose, and you can play poorly and win. Right? The thing is you as a coach and as somebody evaluating the program, you have to look at those aspects of the game that are good, that you can build on, and try to eliminate as much as possible those things that are not going well. So in that sense, it was good. And then we started to prepare for the Gold Cup. Again, preparation was not the best. We got one closed-door exhibition game. Fortunately, the game went well for us. We had within the squad, we have a good camaraderie, and the game went well. We got a result against Haiti. We had patches of some very good performances. And it led us into the Gold Cup. And of course, in the Gold Cup, we sat down as a team and we said, listen, what do we want to achieve? Actually, it was Kenwin Jones who challenged the squad. Like, what do we want to achieve in the Gold Cup? Of course, you want to win the Gold Cup, but that everybody wants to win the Gold Cup. But how do you get there? How do you get to that point where you can give yourself a chance to get to the final? And we said as a team, we want to go one step further than we went the year before, which was to get into the semi-final, right? And then you're in the final four, and you give yourself a fighting chance, right? Unfortunately, we won the group. Quite frankly, a lot of people said we were not even going to get out of that group.
Yes, the word on the ground was that we were not going to make it.
Yeah, we weren't going to get out the group. We ended up winning the group in a sort of spectacular fashion, which I think was a huge positive for the nation, because it brought people back to to watching the national team.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that from my perspective. I'm saying that from the general public that met me afterwards. And but at the end of the day, I think we expelled too much energy in the game. Our recovery time versus the team we were playing was significant. And we went to penalties, and unfortunately we didn't get through. So it was a bittersweet kind of Gold Cup. And then, of course, World Cup qualification began to roll along, and we had one game against Mexico, and the game again was a thriller for France, not so much for my heart, and a game against Panama, which were two quality games, right? And I think it's important to always play quality games. So there were two quality games. They were both away from home, which we have a tendency to be more relaxed for some reason. And that led us into the World Cup qualification. We got a result in Guatemala, and we got a half a result in Trinidad and Tobago versus the USA.
Were you satisfied with the game against USA? Because, again, word on the ground is that we had opportunities to win that game. I even heard some supporters saying that we should have won the game because in all the years, they think that that was one of the weaker of the American teams that we have ever faced.
Well, I think that's a little bit of an unfair statement to the United States team and a little bit to Trinidad and Tobago team, because that U.S. team that played against us was much different than the team that played in the Gold Cup. And it included, for me, what is the biggest factor for the United States, which is Tim Howard. And in that respect, it was a solid team. But in terms of the performance, I made a statement that we let them off the hook, which was taken sort of out of context. Because what happens in football is you have your periods of domination, and the other team is going to get some chances. Now, it might not be the other team has significant chances, but if they score and you don't score in your period of domination, then you don't put the team under any stress. And what happened was, in the opening part of the U.S. game, we had the opportunity to put more doubt into the U.S. team.
I think the first shot from Kenwin Jones early.
The shot from Kenwin Jones and the chance by Jovian Jones, right? So if you score those goals, it gives you confidence, but it also puts doubt in the mind of the opposition playing away from home. And of course, once a team like the U.S. that has way more experience than us in the situation, once they weathered the storm,
they're going to settle.
I'm sure Klinsmann told them, listen, you're going to get a couple of chances, just make sure you bury them. They didn't. And the last, I watched the game the other day, I think it was the last 10 minutes of the game, we had two glorious chances again. And we didn't, again, we didn't capitalize.
I guess maybe it's because of those situations that those who were watching the games, because you have one head coach for a national team, but then you have thousands of other coaches. And they always see things different. They always know when the team's supposed to win and by how much, so maybe it's due to what they saw, the chances we had. But reflecting back now on 2015, before we get into the 2016, how satisfied were you with what transpired on the field? I'm not talking about off the field, because off the field is a different thing. You as a coach can only deal with what's happening on the field. In what areas were you satisfied, and in what areas do you think that you still have some work to put in to get these guys ready as we go into the remainder of the qualifying matches?
That's a good question. I think there are some aspects of our defending game that I think we are doing well. Our concentration could be better, but our organization is not bad. Sometimes within the transition, we're a bit slow, and slow mentally, and of course because of that, slow physically. So we could be better there. When I came into the program and I sat down with the staff, I said to them that I wanted the team to really improve upon its ball possession and ball speed, especially in the opposition half. Not to give away the ball in your own half, but to be more dynamic in the opposition half and be able to speed the game up. And I think at times we show glimpses of that, but not enough of it. And the reason for that is, once again, a lot of the players don't have the conviction to go forward and put the ball at risk in an area of the park where you get the result. Because I think they're a little hesitant, because if it's lost, they think they have to run all the way back. You know, so that is something we will keep working on.
I mean, if you go forward with an opportunity because you are going forward because you see an opportunity where you feel you might be able to score or assist. But if in case you lose the ball, you supposed to run back. I mean,
yeah, that's modern football.
That's modern football.
That is modern football, yes. And you know, you heard I heard two coaches make the statement. One was Pep Guardiola, the other one was Lowe of Germany. Sometimes you have to run, and then when it's necessary, you have to run some more.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes it's the missing element in our game, because a lot of our players don't play in that situation where you have to fight for the result for the 90 minutes. You know, you're playing comfortable parts of the table. You're not going to get relegated. You're not fighting to get into Champions League or whatever it is. So they play very comfortable football, very comfortable football, and you know, it reflects back onto the game under real stress, because under real stress you kind of revert to what you're accustomed to, and at times we have a tendency to lose concentration and to miss the physical effort necessary to be dynamic.
Okay. As we get set for the 2016 playoffs, which should be sometime the 27th of March, I think, our game against St. Vincent. We didn't start off the year on a positive note with this loss to Haiti,
yes,
which was regarded as one of the more important games that Trinidad and Tobago should have won. Again, the thousands of coaches were not satisfied. They had all different, suggestions. And one of the suggestions, well, on the ground you hear all the different suggestions. Some were saying that, okay, we miss Kenwin Jones. Some were saying the team played like they didn't have a leader on the pitch. What is your assessment of going into a game with such great importance? Because I'm sure that you must have mentioned to these guys the importance of winning this game, what the benefits would have been for the team and for the country.
No, I mean, they were all quite aware of that. I think the analysis has to go way deeper than that. You had a situation where you had a number of the key players. The large majority of the players weren't really playing any football. They were on Christmas break. Some of them hadn't played since November, and you had a huge portion of players that fall into that category, right? Now, then you were missing Trinidad and Tobago's squad. Was depleted significantly. Plaza was injured.
Yeah,
Kenwin Jones couldn't play. Molino is still out. We lost a lot of our attacking impetus. Yeah. Right, and that made it difficult. And then on top of that, because we knew the players were going to be off for a significant amount of time, we had made some arrangements for the players to train privately. Some of the clubs extended their hand that the players could train with us and keep sharp, and then the players went on strike.
Oh yes, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So what happened was the players went on strike. That I can, I understand what they are fighting for. I understand, but I think in going on strike, some of the players were not professional. And what I mean by that is, it's all well and good for you to go on strike, but your body starts to decline after 7 days. physically. So it's all well and good for you to say, well, okay, we're on strike, we're not entering camp or whatever, right? But you should have been training at your maximum, because you very well knew that at any point the strike could end. And then, you know, the strike ends and you come into training, and now the training is so intense and so hard that your body is not prepared to recover, right? And even with all of that, we went into the game again. We had the better of the first half. Watching the game just the other night again, we had 3 glorious chances in the first half. We did not score, and in the second half, Haiti began to get a little more confident. Yes, they got a little more confident. They got 2 chances which were not created out of their play. They were created out of mistakes from us. Jan came up very big on two of the saves. And then they scored what could only be described as a poor goal, and with that, between the 87th minute and the final whistle, we still had 3 opportunities. Well, 2 opportunities from us and 1 from their own defender, and it didn't work out. So we lost the game, and we let the nation down. But what we did was we denied ourselves our opportunity to play in one of the 3 largest tournaments in football history.
Do you think it's an issue with the national team or the players that far too often opportunities, we are letting too many goal-scoring opportunities go by with not, you know, really taken advantage of? Because, I mean, we can look back at a lot of the games that we have either drawn or lost, and when you look back at the opportunities that came to us, I mean, we should have taken advantage. Do you think that is an issue that we face?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that is one of the most obvious things. But again, you have to ask yourself, which Trinidad and Tobago player is playing at a level and banging in goals consistently? Because there's a huge amount of criticism of Kenwyne Jones in Trinidad and Tobago, which I do not understand. He is primarily one of our top goal scorers. He does the business. He has been scoring the goals, and at the end of the day, that's his job. Right, but other than that, once you lose the quality of Molino, who was rapidly rapidly scoring goals, and not only rapidly scoring goals, he had the ability also to make the final pass, which is essential for goal scorers. And now you have to depend on set plays and a couple of players chipping in here and there with goals, and it becomes difficult, because if you watch world football at a top level, you see big teams with quality players, and they don't have a quality striker, or they don't have a striker in form, and the manager is under heavy criticism because their top player is not scoring, or he hasn't bought a top player. So, I mean, what makes people feel that Trinidad and Tobago is any different?
Yes.
If our top scorer is not there, and we not banging in goals, it's going to be a problem. And you're right, we create a fair amount of chances, but sometimes we're not clinical enough or not composed enough to finish.
Okay. Having said all of this, we now face St. Vincent. We already have 4 points. We are on the road to qualifying for the second round. That is where the football will get a bit tougher. With all that is said and done here now, we don't have the players banging in the goals and any one player rapidly scoring. How do you as a coach intend to get this team clicking at the right time, because the football is going to get harder now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair comment, but let's, if you do proper analysis, in 2015 we played X amount of games and we scored, I think, 15 or 17 goals, which internationally is quite significant. And especially for Trinidad and Tobago, if you look at 2 years before, etc., we were struggling to score goals. So it's a matter of having the right approach, the right mental attitude, and being willing to play the football in the attacking third that will give you the opportunity to score goals. Now, whether the goal scores or not, of course, comes down to the ability of the person at the end of the last ball. Right? So that's not going to change. Good. Hopefully we'll be healthy, both physically and mentally. Hopefully we will be in a situation where our bench can contribute significantly, because at the moment some of the players that can contribute to the squad are not at their best. But by that time, maybe they will be playing enough games and playing more regularly and get their confidence back that they can contribute, and that gives me a different variety of approach tactically in which I can approach games. But the first thing for me is to get the first St. Vincent game out the way, and then get the second St. Vincent game out the way. And we will still need points after that, because last time with Canada, I got 10 points and we were knocked out. And a lot of people said that 10 points should be enough to get you through. I am buying that.
But it's not that. I think the problem is just missing the chances to score, because it's not that we cannot score goals, because if we go back to the 2 Mexico games, right, where we draw 4-4, and in that first game we came from behind on numerous occasions, and then the second game, so we have the capability of scoring the goals. It's just that, you know, for some strange reason, the simple opportunities, you know, we let off.
Yeah, but the guys who scored the goals in those games were not at the game. Were not at the Haiti game. So Cummings, we had that disaster with Karen Cummings.
That was a sad.
And Kenwin is not there, and Molino is not there, and it's just compounded, right?
Will we be? What's the position with Molino right now? Will we have Molino? Well, I know Cummings is out for a very long period. Kenwin Jones, well, he's down in the Far East and he is playing. But with Molino, who is regarded, you know, by many as one of the more promising Trinidad footballers, and I think he is surely being missed on the team. Will he be available for any of our upcoming games?
It remains to be seen on 2 fronts. He's extremely enthusiastic and passionate to join the team back. He trained with us. He came with our physiotherapist, trained with us when we were preparing for Haiti, and we had to actually say, hey, take your time, you know. But then again, that sort of injury carries a huge psychological factor with it. Knee injuries are something that's always in the back of your mind. So it would a lot of it will depend on his club. When the club medically says he can start back playing, we cannot make that decision. So the club makes a decision. Then again, will he be playing for the club? Because we have to see if he's actually in a situation where the injury is properly mended, and of course we will take it from there. But right now I cannot answer that. He's back in training. He's training extremely hard, because he's a ball jumbie. You know, he wants to be back. He really wants to be back. So if he keeps that attitude, he should be back. I'm not sure much, but he should be back.
If we divert a little bit more into Trinidad football right now, we're not going to have the Molinos and the Kenwin Jones and these guys, you know, forever. You are one of the coaches who, I mean, I could vouch for it, because, I mean, nearly every game you go to, be it college football, Pro League, Super League, you are there. And I think that is the job of the coach, because you need to always be looking out for new talent. When you look at the young and upcoming players right now, because why I'm asking you this question is that I went to a Pro League game and I saw one of the youngsters on a team who recently came out from Naparima College in the 2015 College League, and he was introduced onto the field. But really and truly, when he took his position, the remainder of the 50 minutes that he played, he was totally out of the game. So what it showed you there is that from the college league into the football that we will call big man football, there is something missing.
A gap, yeah.
There's a gap. What's your take on football generally? Do you see the young players adapting when they leave college football into the Pro League or the Super League teams and being consistent? Or do you see well, as a coach, do you think that there is something needed between the college league level and the Pro League in the middle there to get them ready for top football?
I think that is clearly obvious. The colleges league, you end up playing. You end up playing a couple of really competitive games, and then there's so much space and time to play that the player gets a false sense of where they're at. And people without the experience would look at them in colleges and say, oh, that man could play for the national team. No. Right? It does not work, so it does not translate. Maybe at one time when football was a bit slower and way more technique was required, you might have been able to fit somebody in. So I think the Pro League and the Super League needs to have more football, because the competition we are playing against, the people that we are playing against, are playing football 10 months of the year. Right? So we need more football. Good. And we need to be highly competitive. And it's very difficult for me to see a league that is highly competitive when there's no relegation.
Yes.
Right? So that's the first thing. And then you have those young players that have talent, because I will tell you, even at the under 20 qualification, the players that came out of college, right, when the real stress of the game and the real fight was required, they just couldn't lift their level. Now you could see they have the talent. That is not the question. The question is not the talent, right? But talent is what, 15% of the entire equation. So the physical effort, the level of concentration, the ability to recover and play the next game, that sort of thing can only come if they get regular time at the Pro League level or at another level from college. Because college is what, 2 months of football, right? 2 months of football, and the players.
I think they train longer than the actual running of the league.
Well, exactly. There you go. It's a competition, right? So the development aspect of it is a couple of months of training, 2 months of football, and then there's a huge gap in which they, then they go to the Pro League itself. But there's only a couple of Pro League teams that are willing to give youngsters a consistent chance in playing. And I'm saying Pro League, but I also include in that the Super League, in which youngsters could go and play and be challenged all the time. And I think that is essential, because really and truly, if you look at the national youth teams at the moment, and when I say at the moment, the last few years, they are not being prepared properly to go into the FIFA tournaments or the CONCACAF tournaments. And what's happening is, because of the financial situation, we are going to those tournaments for experience. Yes. So whereas before they would have played 5 or 6 international games at a top level and then go to the CONCACAF competition, that's not happening. So the first time really is when they're thrown into a game, and now they have to perform and get a result, and that is very, very difficult. That's like just you're running some track meets in Halsey Crawford, and then you're going to the Olympics and you say, hey, I go in and run with Bolt. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Will you support the idea of, let's say, after a season of college football, that you select maybe the top 15 or 20 footballers because remember, the only time you select 19-year-olds or 20-year-olds is if you're going to have a Trinidad team going to a youth tournament. But would you support that after each season you pull the top 15 or the top 20, right, from all the different colleges, right, and get them into some team where they can maybe play, in the Super League or some other form of competition, that you have these 15 talented players, not just if they don't get onto a pro league team or if they're still at school. School is finished and that's it. Football for them is finished, except they play something on a Saturday morning and then they go back to school. But do you support getting these guys together and keeping them, in some competition, that you always have young talent, not wasted, but in some sort of match fitness?
Well, I think a discussion like that, it would be nice to have a sort of forum or a think tank on it, because there's a number of good ideas. That's a good idea. That's one idea, right? And can we match that? Because everything we do, we have to match in Tobago.
Yeah.
They should run every program parallel in Tobago, because it's the island has a lot of talent and it's close to my heart. Right? So that is one idea. Or we can go the Mexico way, because Mexico all of a sudden rose at a youth and international level. We're talking on the biggest stage, when they had a rule in the Mexican leagues that 3 of your players had to be under the age of 23, right? Of which I think 2 had to start. Right? Now, they only recently abandoned that because they thought, okay, now we are producing players or whatever.
It's served the purpose.
But I think, yes, I think it's a fantastic idea. And of course, those 2 or 3 players will have to be the special ones. Right, so the special ones go to teams in the leagues, and then the next batch are in a group that your idea represents, and they're playing in some sort of league. I would also like to see a selection at the end of the colleges of North, South, East, West Tobago.
Yes.
They train under some of the top coaches. They have a proper 10-day camp, and then the games start. We invite the crowd to come. We invite the schools to come, and we bring back the North, South, East, West sort of games. I would love to see that at every single level, because it would extend our league. And for me personally, it was some of my most memorable games, being up the opportunity to play for South in Roy Joseph Cup and all of that. And what it does, it's something extra, but it also gives us the national staff an opportunity to see the best players in a highly competitive environment. So that's just another idea. Whether it's realistic or not, I don't know. But I think at the moment there's a lot of discussion about football, but not enough implementation of ideas. We can criticize how much we want. That is easy. But what is the solution? How are we going about the solution? And what can we do within the present structure of what we have to make things better? So in other words, off the field, we sit down, we share ideas, we work really hard to improve the product. On the field, we compete, right, for the betterment of the entire football program in the country and for the young people that play the game, male and female.
I would think that the idea you spoke about bringing back the North-South, because recently I was in a discussion with some of the older guys, Steve David, Cave and Dylan, these guys. And these guys made the national team at a very young age, right? So what was happening then that caused these 15 and 16-year-olds to go in on a national team and hold their places? Why it cannot be done now?
Well, I think it's a different era and a different time, and of course the colleges league at that time was extremely competitive. It was not. Right now it's a bit watered down. There are so many teams in the schools football, So it's a bit watered down. You used to have the concentration of players in just a few schools, you know. So that might be it. I don't know. I certainly don't have all the answers. But right now, if somebody is trying to say that, hey, we have players in colleges that could step onto a national team, I will question their sanity. You know, I mean, really and truly, to make that step now is not happening. I'll give you an example. United States, for an example, has not used a college player in their Olympic squad since 2000. That's 15 years ago. Whereas before, their teams used to be made up of college, of a lot of college players. And more recently, Jürgen Klinsmann gave one college player a little bit of time with the national team, and now he's left school and gone pro because he's told them, listen, you have to be playing at a professional level. So it's a completely different world now, a completely different environment. And there are some significant things that we have to really look at. Because if the World Cup 2002, right, of which Trinidad was in 2006. Good, so 2002 World Cup and the 2010 World Cup, running at speed increased by 20-something%. Right? So in that short time period, right, the science behind the athlete is taking the game to a completely different level. And then, of course, the quality of the pitches that they play on. People ask me, how come when you all play on, you know, abroad, and so the team looks so much different? I mean, the quality of the pitch, and then the sprinklers are on, the pitch is watered, so it's quicker, the ball moves better. It allows you to play the kind of football. But if you look at the state of the stadium for the US game, it did not allow for that. So I mean, all these things we have to look at, and not just feel that there's one quick fix. Because in Trinidad and Tobago there's a tendency to say, you know, a coach is going to make it right, and that is so. Yes, they try
to put the pressure on the coach, you know, as okay, Stephen Hart is God sent. We have been winning games, so we are expecting now to qualify for the next World Cup. But it doesn't work like that.
No, I think, of course not. And I've probably been fortunate. Certainly, there were some games that we played that we should not have gotten the result, and you get the result. But that's the nature of football. But I would like to see a more comprehensive audit of our football and what we have. I went to see about 7 or 8, maybe more primary school games. Right, so you know, a complete audit of what we have, and then break down the players technically. What do we do well? Where do we need to improve? A little example is goalkeeping at the moment. At every single level is extremely questionable. Right, so you know, you have to take an audit of all of that, do a proper analysis, and then how are we going to tackle the problem? How are we going to who is going to supervise the development program in point for the 10 to 14-year-olds? And you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say.
And at the end of the day, it all has to come under one umbrella. So when the under 10 comes through all the different ranks and he ends up in the national team, he has the same ideas of what the style and the play is all about.
Well, he or she certainly has to have the footballing quality. Ideas and all of that are going to change according to whichever coach come in. But I prefer the model where you
what I meant was the model.
So where you develop players that have certain qualities. So your wide players know how to cross a ball, and you and I watched how many games. When last you see a proper header in the Pro League?
You have not.
Exactly.
And, so you know, there is something I'm amazed with too, with these guys running with the ball. The ball always seems to be outrunning them. You hardly see a player running and the ball is at his feet. There's always a distance. And I'm always saying that if you are running away from a guy with that ball away from your feet, and he can run a little faster than you, it's obvious he's going to get the ball before you, because there is a space.
Well, yeah, I think part of that too is, I mean, I was watching the Atto Bolton pitch, the game the other night, and every pass, the ball is coming to you, it's about
But-
5 googlies before it reaches
But
you.
then again, too, that ground is in a mess because I was watching a game there. You're not seeing the guys' boots.
Boots, yeah,
So,
yeah,
and if you were up to the top of the stands, and that tells you the height of the grass, and it goes back to our facilities. Now, we can sit and talk about the players and what they're not doing right and what they're doing and everything, but it comes back that if you want a good cupboard bill, the tradesman have to have the best tools.
Mm-hmm. And the wood had to be good too.
Exactly. So if you are not giving these guys, as we were saying this one, when they go outside, the Trinidad team performs well. But if they have venues here, and then what is happening now is that how can I be motivated as a footballer going out to play a game, and when I look in the stands, I see 10, 15 people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give 100%. I'm going to just do sufficient to win the game, right? And what do you see as one of our major problem? Not on the field we're talking now, we're talking about outside of the field, because the supporters we criticize. We sit at home. If a game is on television, we will not pay the money to go to the stadium. We'll sit home and we'll watch the game, right? And then we criticize. Do you think that the supporters needs to come out and show these guys, okay, we are behind you regardless of the decision once you play a good game and we are entertained?
Well, first to begin, if you don't pay and you don't come in the stadium, I don't think you have the right to criticize.
And those are those are who you criticize the most.
No, I always say that. I think if I pay and I go in the stadium, okay, I've paid my money, I want to be entertained.
Yeah.
Right?
Then
If I download the movie and I steal it, I can't complain about the movie. But if I pay to see the movie, I'm vexed,
exactly.
right? So anyway, on that front, I mean, we just talked about a number of things. The facilities are completely exhausted. They're overused. So I sympathize with the grounds people. The second thing is the lack of a crowd. Now, you and I were talking about this earlier, in that right now, for our players at almost every level, right? Even colleges hardly has any crowd anymore. You know what I mean? And right now, who is your critic? Good. You don't have to. You're from Civic, right? You're from Civic, and I'm just using Civic as an example. It's just a legendary area for football. Who is your critic? And you come out, there's just a handful of people. You can play a poor game, nobody's putting pressure on you. You can make a poor pass, nobody really cares. You miss easy chances. What's the outcome? There's nothing, right? And then I go to Mexico, for example, and you watch a game and there's 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people. And you kick a corner and you don't kick it properly, the crowd is on you. There are demands. You have to seriously be always on top of your game. And not just the crowd in the stadium, because if things don't go well and you go to buy your groceries, you are hearing it. Right? You are hearing it. But now there's no critic. Right? And the only critic is probably the coach in the dressing room. And because of that, the players are not accustomed to being criticized. Right? So they don't see it as a positive criticism, and then this is what I need to do better. They just kind of stoops and whatever. But there's no demand. I remember I was an instructor on a coaching course, and we had the coach of Cameroon there. And he was telling me the pressure on the players all the time in training. There's 6,000-7,000 people watching them train. And, they are shouting out to players, "Hey, Song, you are lazy, run!" You know what I mean? And they are making demands on you. I spent 10 days as a guest at Barcelona. And when they open up the training, there's 6,000-7,000 people watching training easy. And everything is being analyzed and criticized, and there are demands being made on you, right? But when you come to a national team, and that's the only time the demands are being made, right? It affects you psychologically, right? Because you're not accustomed to that stress.
Yeah.
Right, you're not accustomed to that stress at all, and I think it's a missing element in Trinidad football. And those of us who grew up going to Skinner Park and seeing the crowds and being part of that whole atmosphere. I mean, we saw Leroy Dillon and Cummings and Ian Bain and Alvin Henderson all being the legends, being being recognized the other night, and I thought that was fantastic.
Yes.
And my mind immediately, when I saw Gally and Leroy laughing with each other, my mind immediately went to the game in Skinner Park with Fatima and St. Benedict's, and you couldn't see the cycle track. I mean, it was those, it was those days.
Those stories.
Exactly. And as you say, that no longer exists. You go to a Pro League game now, you could shake everybody's hand in the stands.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think that, what do you see as the reason? Because Trinidad football, as we grew, there were always tremendous support from the spectators. 89, we saw a huge support. 2006, it was there. But then it began to wither away, right? Do you have any explanation as to what really caused it, or how do you see? Most people will say, okay, if we qualify for our next World Cup, or if we start back winning, the people will come. But we are winning games.
But that's too easy, right? That's too easy, because that to me that's unfair. The 89, that whole era there, 88, 89, Everett Cummins and that squad brought people back to football. But I was at the game, the Guyana game. There was nobody there.
Okay.
Right? There was nobody there when it started. I think that was Gally's first game. Right? It was again. And there was nobody there.
No, but I see, again, we only jump on the bandwagon when it appears that there is a silver lining down the road.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really have an explanation for that. But I do know that there used to be a crowd that always went football, whether it was PSA, whether it was in the Savannah, etc. Right now, you have a group of people that go to football. Now, it's not much of them. Might be 100, might be 200 that go to football. That 200 is going to be at colleges. That 200 is going to be at Super League or Pro League. And that 200 is going to be in the national stadium when the national team play. If the team starts to do well and the crowd start to come out, that 200 can't get the tickets.
It happened in 89.
Well, exactly. Right? So, really and truly, I do not have an answer for that. All I can say is that you have a group of people that will support when they think things are going well, and what you really need is a group of people to say, listen, we are behind you, we are going to push you through, right? And that is, for me, one of the missing elements. Because you see more people in a Barcelona jersey and a Manchester United jersey than a Trinidad and Tobago jersey, and they talk about my team, us, right? And that's fair enough. Okay, it happens all.
They can tell you all the stats on Messi, and they can't tell you the last time Kevin Jones scored a goal.
It happens all over the world, and you see a lot of people, and it's in our nature. Because I'll give you a joke at the World Cup. Of course, I'm going to certain places that show the World Cup games just for some atmosphere, and you see somebody in a Spain jersey, and before you never used to see nobody wearing Spain, but Spain wins some games, so they were in Spain. So anyway, Spain got knocked out early in the World Cup, and then I see the same man and he have on a Holland jersey. So I said, hold on, how you could put on a Holland jersey now? I mean, you had on Spain. You see, well, that's my number 2 team.
Really we have that's a trend, we have teams number 1, 2, 3 that we could always jump on. Are you, as national coach, are you in a position where you can make recommendations? Because one of the talk that we have been hearing for quite a while is that the Pro League should go back and play games into the communities. Because really and truly, the communities are the people where you can find raw talent. And very rare the venues that the Pro League games are being played, a lot of the young people do not have the opportunity to go. Would you support the Pro League getting back into the communities?
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about that, and there's no doubt that community football is a massive element of the development of the game, right? But, okay, again, are we doing a proper analysis of that situation? Do we have communities with the proper facilities that would allow for those games to take place?
Yeah.
And when I say the facilities, not only the seating facilities,
you need dressing room and,
but you need also, I mean, I've been to some community games, and you cannot take your wife, your girlfriend, your daughter, your little son, because there's one toilet and it's broken. So, and then security is something that you have to look at. So are the communities ready to have such games? Now, if you look somewhere, let me use Civic again, Point, you know, they get a nice little stands, etc. That community will keep it well, and they can generate a massive support for that team, and even fund the team just out of that. But you need, if you're going to talk about bringing the football into the community, they must have the infrastructure in order to host such a game. And yes, the answer is yes, but right now the answer is also no. You know, it's not possible.
Okay. We just have about 6 or 7 minutes remaining before we end the program. What sort of plans will you be putting in place for the remainder of this year as we go into the rest of the games? Are there players that you're going to be looking for, or are they going to be, you know, I know you go to most of the games, but are you going to be like scouting in Tobago, maybe, you know, how are you going to be looking for new players?
Yeah, I'm always looking for new players, and you see players that have certain quality, but we have to be realistic about certain things. One, the national team cannot get players to a certain technical and physical level. That is the job of the club. Yeah. Right? So
well, I have a question to ask you after.
Yeah, at the club level, we have to standardize certain fitness standards, and of course raise players to that sort of level. As I said, I'm always looking, but the player has to be a special player. Yeah. The player also has to bring something different than the player that's there. Right? So yes, you are always looking. You always see certain players in an environment. I go to Tobago and I sit down with Terry Williams and some of the coaches and players, and you see them in a certain environment, and you say, hey, that player has some quality, right? But again, you don't know if the player can make the next step.
Yes, it is.
Now, without the national team having a team that operates, let's say, under the competitive team, or let's not use that word operates under. Let's say without having a pool of 36 players, of which both pools are getting to, you know, some competitive games and proper training camps. It's very difficult to throw a player into a competitive situation and say,
especially coming from your club, and you know, sometimes. Well, what I wanted to ask too is that sometimes do you think that the clubs that the player is coming from, they are allowed to develop bad habits under their respective coaches that sometimes maybe will prevent them from actually stepping up when they come now and they have to face you, and you are strict with them on certain things that they might have been getting away with at the club level, they can't do it here?
Well, I think I'd be unfair to the coaches if I was to say yes, because I don't know what is going on in their environment. However, there is always standards to be met. Yeah. Right? There's always standards to be met. I don't care if it's five-a-side, you know, and I don't care if it's running shuttles or sprints or finishing or whatever. There's always standards to be met. And what I would say is that we as coaches and as players, have to make the demands on the players we play with and the players that we coach to keep those standards as high as possible. And I try to tell all the national team players, when you go back to your club, at every single instance, you have to be the best. Yes. You have to set the standard. Yeah. You always have to be the one that everybody is.
You have to be the standout.
Right? Yeah. Because there are players that are looking at you and they're saying, there's a national team player. Right? Because they see your behavior, they see that you may cheat in the sprint or whatever, or you train a little bit lackadaisical. So everybody has to set the standard. Yeah. Everybody has to set the standard.
Any closing comments?
No, I thank you for this opportunity. I want the public to know that that as a national team, we go out there every chance we get to be the best and to come away with the result, and that's not going to change. We know we have to get into the next round, and we hope you continue to support us to do that.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, viewers, we have come to the end of another edition of Scoreboard here on Hart Television Network. We were talking to the national coach, Stephen Hart, telling us a bit about what we can expect, and we urge you, the supporters, please, instead of staying at home and criticizing, come out and support the national team. Not just the national team, support football. Football needs the support of everyone right now. The supporters, we are part of the problem because we are not going out and supporting. And when we go out and support and we pay admission fee, you know, we contribute something to football. So we expect to see a massive turnout, not just at the St. Vincent game, but at the Pro League, the Super League games, and where football is played, because the players expect that of you. So again, we hope that you enjoy this program. If you miss any part of this program, there's a repeat tomorrow at 12. So as we leave, we say God bless. See you next week, same time. Remember, our football match tonight is a Super League matchup between Defence Force and Phoenix FC. So be viewed. Stay tuned.